I have been diagnosed with autism.
Hey, define yourself, for I am Chris Mitchell, a certified confidence life coach and a late diagnosed autistic. And today, on my autistic journey, I share with you how I discovered and was diagnosed to be autistic. A few years ago, my great nephew spent some time at our house while his mom was driving a school bus. And my great nephew at the time was, I think, maybe 3, 4 years old. And he had recently been diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And I started doing a lot of studying on autism spectrum so we could best connect with him and help him and support him when he was here at our house. And as I started to research that and notice some things in him that made me realize I was that way when I was his age. I was that way not only at his age, but beyond his age. One of the things that leaped into my mind, I realized all the years that I always got upset and frustrated and acted out badly before we went out of town to visit family, probably was I was anxious about it and all. And it's the same way he behaved, being my great nephew, when his routine was changed. I behaved the same way when my routine was changed. And that got me started to thinking, am I autistic? About a year after our nephew had been spending a couple hours each weekday at our house, I went to saw my primary care physician for a normal checkup. Now, at this point, it was really on my mind. Am I autistic? Am I on the spectrum? Now, I went in and I told the doctor, because one of the things I was having was a lot more sensory problems than I had in my life before. And when I think about it, I had sensory issues all my life. It just never really dawned on me it was sensory issues that could be autistic related until after, meeting my great nephew and doing research on autism so we could help support him while he was here. So I went and told my doctor, I'm having a lot of trouble with noise. Noise kind of disorientates me, fatigues me, makes me cranky. It's overwhelming me. We have TVs on this house, and this is a whole different story. 24 hours a day, two of them, and it's driving me batty. I was losing sleep and irritable. And when I go out places, I would still have trouble with sound and all. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, that's not uncommon for somebody who's on the spectrum." And the tone that she used, I interpreted as her saying, "Didn't you know that you're on the spectrum? Hasn't anyone diagnosed you with that? Aren't you diagnosed with that?" So I left there floored. I didn't know what to say. So 6 months later, I went back to see my primary care physician. And I kind of brought it up again because I was kind of curious. Did she suspect that I'm autistic? When she said on the spectrum, would she talk about just autism or maybe neurodiverse? I wasn't sure. So we brought it up. We being my wife was with me at that visit. She's with me at all my doctor visits. I'm with her at all of hers. And yes, it was confirmed that she suspects, she can't diagnose it because she's the primary care physician, that I'm on the spectrum. And she told me, you, yes, it's common for people on the spectrum, and you may want to find somebody who can help you figure out how your brain works. So I left the doctor's office and I'm wondering, am I in the spectrum? Should I pursue it? And I started watching a lot of videos, trying to weigh the pros and cons. I She referred me to a counselor, and I started working with him, and we talked about it. And we probably had 2 or 3 sessions before I made a decision because I had fears of, okay, what if I am? Great. What if I'm not? I'm going to look so embarrassed because I thought I was autistic and I wasn't. And so I finally, with the support and encouragement of my wife, my counselor, and basically really wanting to know one way or another, I decided to pursue a diagnosis of autism. Now, the road to assessment was kind of interesting for me. I know typically, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but typically, not embarrassed to admit this part, what I'm going to admit afterwards, it's going to be embarrassing for me. Typically, this I've heard could take years to do, if at all. Insurance companies do not like paying for the assessment, and it can be anywhere from $1,200 to $5,000 out of pocket here in the United States. And and so I was a little bit apprehensive about it, but I thought we're going to roll the dice, see where we're at, and go from there. So I worked with my counselor, and he helped me. Actually, he did the work. I'm going to give him credit because I don't take credit for stuff I don't do. He found a, a psychologist, I believe, psychiatrist, a doctor in this community. Surprisingly, because I don't live in a big city, I live in a small, almost rural area that actually did adult autism screening, which is hard to find anywhere because most screenings are done for kids. There's not many that are qualified to do the adult screening. And instead of having to wait 2 to 3 years to see him, I was able to see him to get the assessment a little over 3 months after my last conversation with my primary care physician if I was on the spectrum. And surprisingly, my insurance covered it and covered it fully. That is extremely unusual. I'm very grateful, very humbled by it. I'm kind of mixed feelings. I'm glad it was covered because that saved me a lot of money. But the reason it was covered is probably because of my wife. She is battling stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So we reached our deductible quite early in the year because cancer is expensive. So that is where we're at on that. And so it was fully covered. And I was able to get in to see him at the end of May. And we went for the assessment. Now, the assessment was kind of weird to me because I read and saw a lot of videos of different ways people do the assessments, the DM5, I think it's called DM5. Uh, that is the standard for it. I kind of read through some of that and it scared me a little bit. Like, I don't know if I'm really going to be diagnosed as autistic because a lot of it went over my head. And I also was concerned about it is one person's opinion. It's not like going to the doctor, getting a blood test and blood test showing definitively you have cancer or you have diabetes or whatever. This is based upon what you tell someone and how they interpret it. So I was really apprehensive about that. I met with the doctor. We did a preliminary meeting. At my first visit with the doctor who was going to potentially assess me for autism, I brought 4 important things. One, I brought a bottle of water. Two, I brought my needle ball because I use this to kind of stim at times and self-regulate. Three, I brought my Warmy, my little dog named Waggles. And four, I brought a list of approximately 80 characteristics or traits that I have that support my suspicion that I'm on the autism spectrum. He asked me a bunch of questions, and we agreed to meet a second time where he would do the actual assessment. Now, I'd been told before it was going to be 2 to 3 visits with him. Now, counting our first visit, it turned out to be 2, and they may have been counting that. So I'm not going to hold that against them. And we went in for the assessment, and we spent, I'd say, almost 2 hours asking me a whole bunch of questions. I answered them. And it was not what I expected it to be. It was a little bit different than what I had been told and all. And I left there. I was a little bit disappointed, concerned because I thought, did I get the right assessment? Did I give him enough information? Did I say enough? And I was starting to think about some of the questions, thinking maybe if I would have answered it this way, I did not think of something at the time. So I went through all of that, came home, and that was done on June 12th. With the assessment of that June 12th, I was there and we went through that. And then it was the waiting game. And the waiting game was very nerve wracking for me. The waiting game uh, kind of made me wonder, oh my gosh, what's the result? And when I last saw the doctor on June 12th, he said, we're going to mail you the results. Now, my bad. It was actually Thursday, June 13th, 2024. I met with the doctor for the assessment. It was Thursday. The office is closed on Friday. So I was expecting it sometime during the week. I was really hoping for it. Since we did this assessment Thursday morning, I was hoping he'll type that bad boy up Thursday afternoon, get it out in the mail. I'll have it Monday morning. Nope. I have it Tuesday. Nope. I'll have it Wednesday. Well, that wasn't a possibility because it's Juneteenth and there's no mail. But I did meet with my counselor that day who had received a fax with the information on it. And he told me he could tell me what it is. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I was ready to handle that. And what if, how would I react? Because it was a virtual appointment. How would I react on camera? I mean, if it is, and, I suspect that I am. And I thought, if I am I going to do like a celebration victory dance? And like, why would somebody celebrate that they're on the spectrum? And I realized the celebration would be not because, yes, I'm on the spectrum, but yes, now I was right. My suspicions were right. Everyone's suspicions were right. And what if it was no, I wasn't? And then I was thinking, if he told me they did not find me a spectrum, I'm going to feel embarrassed. I talked to this guy, a counselor, and he worked with me to get me on the spectrum. And I'm like, what I do? So I told I don't want to know. And he said, if you want to know, you change your mind, call my office. We'll have it ready, and we'll email you a copy of the fax. And I said, okay, fine. So I got off the counseling call. My wife came into my office right here, and I told her what happened. She said, you really need to know. You can't wait any longer. Just have them send it to you. So I called them, and I had them send me the fax and email. And I was so nervous. I had my wife read it, and she told me that yes, I was found to have autism spectrum disorder. And then that gave me a sense of relief. So a couple of days later, I received the letter. And this is what happened when I opened and read my official letter.
All right, I have in my hand an envelope. I feel like I'm Karnak, but I'm not. About a week ago, I went in for an assessment for autism, and this is the results that they sent to me. So we're going to open the envelope and find out what they said. There we go. There's the opening. Drum roll would be nicer. All right, here we go. It says, you were first seen on 5/28/2024 for psychological assessment to investigate any psychological difficulties, including autism spectrum disorder. We discussed a variety of topics, including social interactions, behavior, and irritability, stimming, worries, fears, attention, concentration, and so on. Based on everything we discussed, behavior during our meetings, and outcomes of the assessment measures, a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder and adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depression mood was indicated. And then they go on to give me some recommendations here. So we have it. It's official. I have been diagnosed with autism.
And that is my story of how I discovered and was diagnosed to be autistic. I would love to know what you think about this video. Please share your comments in the comment section below the video, and do know that I read each and every comment that is posted to the channel. I hope you will consider sharing this video with your friends and liking this video. Both will help us grow this channel to help more autistic adults gain the confidence to be neurodiverse in a neurotypical world. And if you like the content you're seeing so far, there's more to come. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. And when you subscribe, don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when a new video is posted and when I go live on the channel. This is Chris Mitchell, aka the Confident Autistic, reminding you that success starts with self-confidence. If you need help discovering, developing, and growing your confidence to either pursue a late in life diagnosis of autism or to authentically live as a neurodivergent in a neurotypical world, I can help. Visit my website, thechrismitchell.com. Do it now. Your future self is waiting to thank you.